first event at this COP, so it's always special, no? First event. I will mention very quickly in three parts. The first, why are we here with a new trust fund and a new implementation vehicle? We are here because we are in a very unique moment, as a lot of you must have seen, that the world is doing a lot more of solar. It took 25 years to do the first 1,000 gigawatt. Next 1,000 were done in next just 2 years, and it's going to further double to 4,000 in next 4 years. Which means the world will see a lot more of solar and similar solutions. Unfortunately, that is not uniform. Less than 1% is happening in Africa. And then there are a lot of other imperfections where distributed renewable energy for agriculture and solar rooftop needs to happen at a much, much faster pace than it is happening otherwise. Also, storage and transmission will become more and more critical than solar. With this background, International Solar Alliance just had an annual assembly with 137 countries in which we finalized a new strategy of moving from ambition to action, or moving from pilots to platforms. And let me share three platforms which are very vital for the multi-donor trust fund. The first is to have a digital twin for a distribution utility that is essential for absorbing the renewable energy. Our pilots with our partner GIAP, which have been funding the first digital twin in India, are showing that as much as 25% of renewable energy investments can be optimized through digitization of distribution companies. The second pilot, which is this platform, which is very important, is with small island developing states. As you have heard, for long they have been saying that we are victims and stop talking about it, but do big programs. We have launched a SITS platform where 16 SITS countries for the first time have come together to do a joint e-procurement. And the Multi-Donor Trust Fund will look at avenues for resolving the technical assistance needs for making these countries ready. And the third, all the developing countries will say, where is our institutional capability to actually find our own solutions? So ISA works on setting up local centers of excellence that we call Solar Technology Application Resource Centers. 17 countries would have that by end of 2025. And now we are combining digital solutions in having a global capability center that enables all the digital and AI solutions on training to be available to all of them. If you hear a lot of buzz on AI, it's right, but what is even more important is, are there skills that combines electrical engineers with AI skills? And that's going to be a very important part of this MDTF as well. Finally, is it ready? I want to compliment our partners GIAP, who are also not only the financiers but also the trust fund implementing partners, that the governance structure with $9.5 million of initial technical assistance seed money is ready. We are already implementing. We had 2 steering committees. It's an international governance structure with multiple countries, multiple stakeholders part of it. Philanthropies through Sequoia, who have financed us, are already part of the implementation structure. Now, I will end by saying that what we want to just leave all of this with all of you is that while a lot of initiatives have been spoken about on the need for doing AI for energy, for SITS, for digital advisory services, this is a platform that's ready for implementation. And therefore, in the spirit of COP30 that is talking about implementation, I hope we will all discuss how we can accelerate the implementation using the vehicle that is already operational and is international. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Khanna. May I please request Mr. Woo Song Yoon to now Professor Agnes.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you very much, Ashish and Isa and the Excellencies and all of you for coming to this. This ISA Pavilion is our second home, actually my first home in this venue. There are a few things. It's my 5th day here in Berlin, and my first day I was dressed like Ashish. And as each day goes by, my necktie comes off and my jacket comes off, and finally I'm dressed like this. So I hope you don't mind. And maybe if I stay one more day, I'll dress like that as well. There are many reasons why I'm very happy to be here in Berlin, in Brazil, because I grew up watching Pelé, Zico, Ronaldinho, and Neymar and everybody. So I love coming to Brazil, and this is my second time here. And I just wanted to, before I get into my substance, I wanted to wish everyone, all the countries, good luck in the next few weeks as in the final stretch of the World Cup FIFA qualification. I know that means a lot to many people just like me, and I'll be rooting for every one of those players and the teams as well. And there's a reason why I'm mentioning this now, because there's something I'm going to talk about a little later. So, it's an honor for me to be here. And being here at this place reminds us that the climate change must be both global and grounded. And standing here at COP30, surrounded by the world's largest rainforest, we are reminded that the future of energy and our climate isn't an abstract thing. It's personal, it's local, and it's urgent. In 2024, the global renewable energy capacity grew by a record 585 gigawatts, which is a 15% increase from the year before. More than 75% of that comes from the solar energy, adding 452 gigawatts of new capacity. Today, solar power contributes to about 1,885 gigawatts globally, which is the largest source of new power on Earth. That's amazing, but it's not enough. To reach the global goal of tripling renewable capacity by 2030, will lead renewables to grow roughly 16.6% every year. That means moving from incremental progress to exponential acceleration, from pilots to platforms, from potential to proof. As electricity demand doubles by 2050, driven by urbanization, digitalization, including AI, and the electrification of everything from cooling to transport to industries, the question before us is not just how to generate clean energy, but how to do it at scale, and in the way that delivers shared prosperity. This is where the International Solar Alliance's Multi-Donor Trust Fund, MDTF, shines, as both as engine and as an experiment of collaboration. It is a catalytic mechanism that brings together funders, governments, innovators, and communities around the one powerful idea that we can scale solar adoption faster and fairer when we act as an alliance, aligning technical assistance, digital public infrastructure, and frontier technologies like the AI to build systems that last. So over the next 3 years, the MDTF will mobilize over $100 million, pilot 8 to 10 innovative prototypes, and deploy 5 scalable projects models in areas like the AI-enabled grid modernization and e-procurement and demand generation. It will expand active projects across 8 to 10 ISA member countries, deepening South and South cooperation on the lessons on our successes, to say digital grid planning in India can be replicated across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. I know there are many entities around the world observing how we can progress so they can actually learn and replicate, and using the experience as a test bed. In other words, the MDTF isn't just a funding projects, it's laying a foundation which can be replicated everywhere. It is helping countries move from potential to pipeline, from pilot to policy, from fragmented intervention to coordinated impact. That same spirit of collaboration drives the Global Energy Alliance for People of Planet, our organization. We believe that when technology, innovation, and inclusive finance converge, energy becomes more than a commodity. It becomes a catalyst. Since our inception in 2021 in Glasgow, together with our partners, we are on track to improve energy access by 91 million people, prevent almost 300 million tons of carbon emissions, and create or improve 3.1 million jobs and livelihoods. Using our initial investment of about $470 million, we were able to unlock $7.8 billion in financing, which means for every dollar that we deployed, we're unlocking up to 15 times more. That's the kind of multiplier impact that we would like to have working in this alliance, where public, private, and philanthropic partners play different positions and share the same goal. So as I mentioned, I'm a football fanatic, and I often describe ourselves, our alliance, as well as International Solar Alliance, as a center midfielder, not a striker, not a goalkeeper, because we need to understand how the game is played, understand the capability of each and every player on the field, that be technology owner, the developed country, the local community, and we make that critical pass to the one that's best placed to score. But of course, when there's a gap, and when we need to score ourselves, we do not hesitate to score. But we are very unselfish. We make sure that the whole system wins, not just us. So that's why we're investing in AI-driven grid modernization in India, digital tools for mini-grid planning in Africa, and new business models that make clean energy accessible and affordable for everyone. For example, in Jaipur and Delhi in India, we are working with the Indian government and local utilities to build one of the world's first digital twin of an entire state power grid. Living and learning models anticipates outages, optimizes supply, and rebuilds public trust in utilities. It's not just a technical achievement, it's the model of how digital public infrastructure can power reliability and transparency. That's what makes MDTF's focus on AI and digitalization so exciting. In so many emerging economies, data is the missing fuel. Without reliable data systems, planning is a guesswork. And without institutional capacity, ambition stays on paper. AI tools, transparent e-procurement, and interoperable digital platform can flip that around, turning risk into readiness and enabling governments to attract private capital with confidence. But as powerful as technology is, the real story is about relationship among partners. It's about co-creation, designing with countries and not for them. We don't collectively together with ourselves and ISA, we don't provide solutions. We look for problems and we develop solutions together. And we don't have a set, cookie cutter solutions. We don't look for problems with our solutions. We look for problems first and we co-create solutions that's fit for purpose. So this is all about trust, building mechanisms where donors and innovators align ourselves with shared priorities. And it's about people, ensuring that the solar transition lifts livelihoods, creates jobs, builds resilience in every community where changes must be needed. Because the ultimate measure of success won't be in terawatts installed, but in lives transformed. For farmers irrigating their crops, women powering new enterprises, and youth finding jobs in clean energy economy. So looking ahead, as the MDTF scales, the Alliance, ours and theirs, stands ready to collaborate to share lessons from our work across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, to co-invest in digital innovation and to help ensure that no community is left behind in the solar and digital revolution. The multi-donor trust fund isn't like just a financial mechanism, it's an invitation for all of you to work differently, to collaborate boldly, and to make solar transition faster, smarter, and fairer for everyone. Because when energy flows, so will the opportunity, dignity, and hope. So together, let's change lives by changing energy. Thank you very much.
There are a couple of mics there, but thank you so much, Mr. Khanna and Mr. Om, for giving us an overview. Can you hear me well? Okay. And giving us a direction in which the multi-donor trust fund is progressing towards. Also, after your broader direction, we are looking forward to having our esteemed panel here. And I'll just introduce the panel who's coming from a perspective of large state utilities, subnational entities of ISA member countries, including India and Brazil we have, and larger system thinkers who are, who will bring in the perspective for a just, digitally enabled energy transition and how we can progress towards that. Let me introduce the panel first, and starting from the right, we have Mr. Lokesh Chandra, who leads one of the largest power distribution utilities in India, steering the state of Maharashtra in clean energy transitions. He will share insights on subnational transition planning and early learnings from digitization and AI pilots. Next, we have Mr. Guler Mesa, who is the Secretary of State of Pernambuco in Brazil, and he's driving Brazil's Pernambuco state's energy transition in alignment with Brazil's national climate goals. We really look forward to your comments on how, what is the role of states in broader energy transition and advancing the role of renewables and digital innovations. And we have Ms. Patricia Ilan, who's the partner from Systemic. She's a systemic, broader systems thinker, and she will discuss the practical AI applications for power systems and frameworks to build capacities across governments and utilities. So we welcome you all. We have a couple of mics, so if we can actually do mic checks. And I may actually start from Mr. Chandra, if I can probably request the mic checks to be done first. That's fine, sir. We have the mics.
Hello. Am I audible? Please increase the volume. Increase the volume.
Yeah, now.
Hello. Yes.
Yeah, this is fine. So, Mr. Chandra, Maharashtra's energy transition efforts just go beyond only the power sector. We are looking at covering mobility, agriculture, industry. And, we've worked with you on broader energy transition planning, literally creating the blueprint of how the energy transition looks like. What I would want you to bring about here is, how do you see the multi-sectoral transition planning helping states deliver faster and more inclusive transition, which is also economically beneficial to the states? So if you can please shed some light on that.
Good morning, friends. Let me first thank ISA for inviting me, sharing our experience here. It's the real action which we'll be sharing, which is already implemented. To start with, our energy transition plan is in tune with our Honorable Prime Minister's vision for having net zero by 2070 and 50% of energy from renewable sources by year 2030. In line with that, our state, Maharashtra, which is the most industrialized state in India, our energy minister, who is also the chief minister, very dynamic leader, has drawn this blueprint for us that in Maharashtra we should have this resource adequacy along with the energy transition plan, which is, I think, one of the largest at the moment globally. As to give some of the figures, we are looking for our peaking demand, which is around 30 gigawatt right now. In next 5 years, it is going to be 45 gigawatt. And in terms of the energy, it will be 1,85,000 million units to 2,80,000 million units. So this quantum in 2030 will be surpassing the energy requirement of some of the countries. To name a few, Spain, Italy, UK, Australia, Turkey. So when we are doing this, in fact, what we have also seen, Maharashtra, this utility which is taking care of the energy supply of 34 million consumers, and we are also having the second largest demand in the Asia. We are the number one in the country, but also in the Asia we are the second largest utility. We are also catering to 10 million farmers. Now, being the highest industrialized state, along with the industrial demand, our agriculture demand is also highest in the country. That is around 30% of our total energy demand. And in terms of capacity is around 16,000 megawatt or 16 gigawatt. What we have done when we have planned our resource adequacy plan, we have ensured that our energy requirement for the agriculture is met by the renewable sources predominantly, which is essentially the solar energy. Now I will just briefly explain what is this program which we are talking about, which we have implemented, and I am going to share the implementation outcome of this program. In Maharashtra we call it Mukhyamantri Saur Krishi Vahini Yojana. In Government of India terms, it is Kusum C of Government of India, and actually this is agriculture feeder solarization program. It is again one of the largest distributed renewable energy program which we are implementing not only in India, globally, because we are going to have this 16 gigawatt energy requirement to be met by solar by end of next year, that is 2026. At the moment we have already commissioned 3 gigawatt of capacity, which is benefiting around 7 lakh farmer families. In terms of numbers, it's around 3.5 million people. So when we have done this, this is ensuring that the farmers are getting daytime power supply, which was the main cause of starting this program, because at the present we were supplying 50% energy during the daytime, 50% during the night time because of the energy balance and the availability of the energy, which is the situation in most of the developing countries where the agriculture load is substantial. With this program, what we have achieved, we have ensured that the farmers are getting daytime power supply, they are getting access to clean and reliable energy. At the same time, we are also ensuring the participation of women in the agriculture operations. This has ensured the agriculture productivity has gone up. At the same time, it has also reduced our AT&C losses, which are basically in terms of when we are supplying power from the grid. Because in this program, we are supplying this power from the decentralized renewable energy solar parks of 5 megawatt to 20 megawatt, depending upon the requirement at that particular substation. And we are injecting this power at the downstream of the 11 kV level. So we are avoiding the power going to the grid. So it is also in a way taking care of the grid stability issues when we are injecting such a huge quantum of power into the grid, that is to the quantum of 16 gigawatt. Now we are, along with this distributed renewable energy, we are also implementing distributed storage program, which is taking care of the energy when it is not required for the agricultural load. We are storing this energy and using for our peaking requirement. So in this program, we have also ensured that the cross-subsidy burden, which in India is happening due to the lower tariff for the agriculture sector which we are offering, is also being removed. Now, in terms of the quantum, if I can mention, this is around $1.5 billion per month for the agriculture subsidy annually, and for subsidy burden on the government, which we are reducing, is around 0.5 billion US dollars. So, on one hand, we are ensuring access to the clean and sustainable power to the farmers. On the other hand, we are also making the energy affordable to the not only for the agriculture sector but also the industrial and other sectors. In fact, in this whole exercise, what we have done in the next 5 years, what is going to the impact on the power procurement cost, we have worked out that, and this whole program is going to having an investment to the tune of 8 billion US dollars in the rural areas, which is going to create around 70,000 employment opportunities for the youth. And we are also creating green skilling among these youth to ensure that locally these skilled manpower is available, so that they also get employment opportunities for the next 25 years. And along with that, we are also having substantial reduction in the power procurement cost, because the energy which we are procuring through the distributed renewable energy program is around 3 cents against 8 cents, which is for the normal procurement which we are doing from our conventional sources. So overall, in the next 5 years, there will be saving to the tune around 8 billion US dollar in the power procurement cost. And that historically, in fact, when we have our tariff revision every year, it used to be around CAGR terms around 10%. Now, in the history of our DISCOM, we have reduced the tariffs. Instead of 10% CAGR, now it is minus 2%, which we have already implemented from 1st April of 2025. So it's a win-win situation where we are ensuring power for the agriculture sector from the distributed renewable energy sources. We are also reducing the tariff for the industry. We are also having a combined impact on the EV charging station, which we are promoting as a part of this strategy of promotion of EV vehicles, because we realize that this is also going to reduce the carbon footprint. In fact, alone this 16 gigawatt energy which we are supplying to agriculture, this will reduce our emissions by 25%. And when we are talking about this energy transition plan of 45,000 megawatt, which we are going to install in next 5 years, 38,000 megawatt, 38 gigawatt is coming from the renewable sources, and annually we will be saving 22 million tons of CO2 emissions every year. So it's a kind of win-win situation. We have all the contours of this scheme, how it was made possible. I will be happy to share with anybody who is interested in getting the details of the scheme, and we'll be happy to collaborate with any global South countries which are in the similar situation and want to take advantage of this scheme.
Thank you so much, sir. This sort of gives an overview of how energy transition is truly to the heart of, carbon access, job benefits to the people, how it can be made truly, people-centric. So thanks for just detailing that out. Moving on, Mr. Sa, like Maharashtra, Pernambuco has been on the front runner state in terms of renewable energy deployment among most of the Brazilian states. How are you aligning state-level energy transition planning with the national frameworks? Because unlike India, Brazil has a different, structure of how things work here. And what lessons could the other subnational governments potentially draw from your experience in the global south across the ISA member countries?
First of all, thank you, Nidhi, and thank you for the organizers for inviting me. It's an honor, it's a privilege to be with you guys today. Can you all hear me well? You hear me well? Okay. So, once again, I am the Executive Secretary of Energy of the state of Pernambuco. And before jumping to the question, just to give you a glance of what Pernambuco is, right? So, we are a state in northeast of Brazil, right in the heart of the northeast of Brazil. We have a $55 billion GDP. We have been growing above the national average for the past 3 years. Last year, our growth rate was 4.9. And we have been able to push down unemployment rate faster than any other state in the northeast of Brazil for the past 2 years. So we have a diversified economy. 75% is service, but roughly a quarter of our economy comes from industry. And for the past decade, the industry growth has been driven by investment in automotive sector, oil refining from Petrobras, and energy and power and food and beverage, right? So we have this diversified economy, and going now to energy planning and energy transition, as we stand today, 77% of our state grid is renewable, so that's almost 80% of renewable power going to the grid at the state level. And as our peer states, that renewable share has been built mostly for the past 20 years. We had some hydro from last century, but over the last 2 decades, we put online a lot of solar and a lot of wind, right? So in the Northeast in general, you have all that potential for solar and wind. And we as a region have been responsible for pushing for the energy transition in the country for the last 2 decades, right? So if we now have 90 plus renewability in our power matrix, you can say that we've been pushing this bar up for the last 2 decades. And now we face this hard truth, which is we're still lagging behind the rest of the country as a region in terms of economic development, right, and inequality. So if you look back at the 2000s, when we didn't have that much solar or that much wind, the per capita GDP of the Northeast region was half of the national per capita GDP, right? And the thing is, we've plugged in all this solar and all this wind, but we're still, as of today, or national or state per capita GDP is still half of the average of the rest of the state of the country, right? So the thing is that even though we have been putting online all the solar and all this wind, we haven't been able, as the region, as a state, to create green jobs and to generate wealth and retain that wealth within our states, right? And if you think about it, it looks like sugarcane plantation, just exporting sugar to Europe, right? So we now extract the natural resource, wind and solar, we ship it away, we put it into grids to the richest country, to the richest nation, in this case, the southeast of Brazil. So we're just basically exporting electrons down the grid. And we understand that we are in a position to change that with energy planning, because this renewability that we have already delivered to the grid is our gateway to bring green industries that can decarbonize their energy load just by plugging into the grid, right? So if you plug into the grid, you already have almost 80% in our state of renewability. So if you have a big power load and you are committed with decarbonizing your energy load, you have renewability, you have that plug and play, and you have energy costs that are competitive global-wise, right? So we need to attract those green industries to create green jobs and to add value within our region, and to keep on pushing the energy transition. So how do we do that? That actually has a lot to do with energy planning. So energy planning in Brazil, it is conducted by the federal government. So the states have very little say in that. So what happened is that the national grid was planned over the past decades to reinforce that dynamic, right? So just build a grid in order to export electrons from the north to the south. And my state exemplifies that very well. So Pernambuco is a kind of a striped state. It's a very long state. It stretches 800 kilometers from the coast of the Atlantic to the countryside of Brazil. But the national grid crosses our state in 3 points: in the coast, in the middle of the state, and back in the far end. And in these 3 points is mainly the grid going north to the south, right? So just pushing down electrons. There's very little connection between the east and the west. So what we see here is that the grid transition lines, they were built not to connect the renewable energy that we have in the countryside to our urban and industrial areas. It was built to push down the electrons through the grid, right? So what we're doing is we are engaged in this high-level dialogue with the federal government to do our homework, to present ourselves as a preferred region for green industries, and to show them that as far as the infrastructure that we can work on at the state level, like roads, like expansion of our state port, like water production and sanitation, like housing, this state level infrastructure, we're doing our job, but the federal government needs to look at us and see, okay, you have the potential to bring these heavy industries and to be more than just exporters of green lanterns. So we've been doing this homework, and we think we've been successful so far in securing more investment to the grid to build this ability to not only export the electrons, but to plug green industries and to generate jobs along in the process. So we still have a lot to go, but we're trying to lay down the groundwork to secure these grid investments and to promote more wealth rather than just power generation within our state.
Thank you so much. I mean, the way you've described this region in the state is truly showing a leadership towards the transition which is required and truly showing how it can be done in the other regions as well. Ms. Patricia, Systemic has been, on the front runners of using AI and data-driven tools for transition modeling. I would like to ask you, what do you see as the most immediate use cases where AI can directly accelerate energy transition in the emerging economies and broadly global south?
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation to be here. I will answer the question from a global and a local perspective. Since I am in Brazil, I lead Systemic in Brazil. I'm a former Secretary for Economic Development, Science and Technology in the state of São Paulo. So we worked to foster development of energy sources. Just giving also a quick perspective on why emerging economies, and especially Brazil, are at the center of the solution, connecting the energy, the clean energy sector with the AI sector. Maybe most of you don't know, but Brazil today has a 90% energy grid, fully clean green energy for electricity purpose. In terms of energy sources, 50% of our energy sources are green, but 90% of the electricity produced in the country today comes from renewables. And solar is the second biggest capacity and the third producer of energy in the country today, the fastest growing one. Very few people know also, but Brazil has the most productive solar energy capacity, given the level of insulation that we have in the different regions. And the Northeast is one of the most productive ones, especially one of the examples is Pernambuco State. Today, we have an energy supply that goes up to almost 50 gigawatts. So we have the total solar capacity today between 42 and 45 gigawatts and growing. But the productivity is 50 to 100% higher than most of Europe and 20 to 30% higher than in China. And again, Northeast and then the Center-West region as the most productive ones. In terms of untapped solar potential, technical opportunity potential, talking about how AI can help, we would have the opportunity to produce up to 30 terawatts of energy, solar energy in the country. But today, when people think about 50 gigawatts, it's a lot. No, we could be doing much more than that if we would be leveraging AI in a few ways. The first one, as my fellow mate from Brazil mentioned, is definitely applying grids and transmission constraints that we have today. One point, though, that it's important, Brazil has one case example that's a reference to the world. Our grid is integrated. You know, China has it, Brazil has it, most of the countries in the world, India has a little bit of it as well. Most of the countries don't have it. And I think in terms of regulation, it's a first thing that we could definitely take as an example for emerging economies, the so-called global south could be teaching the so-called global north, because most of the regions are not integrated, creating a major issue to leverage solar capacity. For example, in the US, the grids are not integrated. Each grid in each state is independent from the next state, and that creates a very big challenge to integrate the grids. So we could leverage regulation and AI combined as an exchange between emerging economies and developed economies to optimize energy usage. So first potential would definitely be that one. The second one is in creating twin models, twin grids, because we are, and that is more in emerging economies. Today we are not leveraging that, and our data is not integrated in emerging economies, and that creates a big challenge to leverage all the opportunities that I mentioned here. So in the example of, if you take the example of Brazil alone, we have 40 distribution utilities and 40 transmission concessionaires, which creates a puzzle for us to optimize these opportunities. The second opportunity is in data centers. So in the case of Brazil, we have the announcement of 10 gigawatts of data center. Today we have 1 gigawatt applied, and we could be leveraging that so that emerging economies would become what we call the green powerhouse to the world. And the third opportunity that I would highlight here is on skills. Today we have two silos, energy and I'll talk about energy as a supply, and everything else that I mentioned on the data. They are two different sectors that are not connected today. So the data centers are not expert in energy, and the energy sector is not an expert in AI and data. So we need to make those two sectors connect, and we have an urgent moment now to upskill our digital innovators and our regulation innovators so that the simple opportunities that I mentioned could be leveraged in the future. Also, if we don't do that, we will be excluding most of the population in the emerging economies, because it's very easy to a company or even to a government to come to the emerging economies and close deals, for example, in critical minerals that are very important to all these opportunities that we mentioned here, but not bring the value-added value chains to the emerging economies. So if I would pick three opportunities in AI, would be these three. How we connect, taking the models, the regulation models that we created for integrated grids in emerging economies to developed economies. Also, how we bring and unlock the AI innovation that we have in developed economies to emerging economies, especially integrated transmission lines and data. And the third one is on green skills, focus not only on solar, but bringing value-added value chains to emerging economies. And I would highlight here data centers as one concrete case example for us to apply immediately. And I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
That was a really great perspective of looking at how AI can enable and unlock a lot of use cases. Getting a clue from that, Mr. Chandra, if I can turn to you. From a utility standpoint, and I see there has been a lot which is done in Maharashtra. If you can share some of the lessons on Maharashtra's journey on digital and AI-enabled transition, the kind of the grid planning and forecasting that Patricia was mentioning. I know you've done some of it, a lot of it actually, but maybe if you can shed some light on that.
Yes. So, in fact, I would like to mention that India is also one integrated grid. We are all having one nation and one grid in India. Now, to fuel our aspiration to become $1 trillion economy, this energy transition plan is also ensuring that our energy consumption from the renewable sources will go from 13% to 52% in the next 5 years. When we are doing this, as we say, most of the time that challenges throw opportunities, but here it's the other way around, that opportunities are throwing challenges. There's a major challenge in terms of now more and more integration of the renewables is basically the stabilization of the grid. Now when we are talking about this, digitalization of the grid is the most essential part of this, whole energy transition. In Maharashtra, as a MSCDCL, we have been always in the forefront to adopt new technologies, and to name a few, we are already working on our outage management using the AI tools, and we are also working on digital solutions. We are implementing the smart metering solutions. We are also working for load forecasting using the AI and ML tools. And also we are looking for AI tools for the loss reduction. So these are 3 or 4 major areas in which we are working for adoption of the latest technology and AI tools predominantly. Now, for grid stabilization or grid management, as we are also having as a part of the energy transition, when we are talking about more and more solar energy, we are injecting in the grid, we are also looking for the battery storage. Now, for having a situation of battery storage as well as the pump storage, to give the figures around our this part of the energy transition plan, we are putting 28 gigawatt hour of pump storage facilities in Maharashtra. We are also looking for around 18 gigawatt hour of battery storage, out of which 5.5 gigawatt hour battery storage bids are only finalized and they are under implementation. So, integration of these energy storage systems with the grid and making the grid intelligent, basically to have the optimized solution to have a more flexible grid operations. I think digitization is one of the requirement, and we are also having the tools for better forecasting. In fact, as we are using the AI/ML tools for load forecasting, we are also using the tools to assess the renewable energy generation, because that is very, very important. When we are having these tools, we are also having the historical data with us, where we have our demand requirement in 15-minute blocks, and we also have the weather data. So for last 1.5 years, when we have started this load forecasting tools, we are improving our load forecasting and generation capacity prediction to the accuracy of 99.5%. Now, still this 0.5% which is remaining is very, very crucial, because our quantum is to the tune of 30 gigawatt to and going to be 40 gigawatt. So it is a huge quantum which we have to actually be more and more accurate. For this, I think digitization is one of the solution, and smart grid operation, mini grid operations, and we are also looking for this optimization of storage facilities. Then we are talking about the storage. It's not only for the distributed renewable energy integration in the grid, which we are doing in terms of distributed storage to take care of this instability in the grid to a certain extent, but we are also looking for a large quantum of energy which is being injected in the grid through the rooftop solar systems. At the same time, we are also trying to find a solution or create a digital platform where we have this rooftop solar integration, EV charging stations, and also the EV vehicles. So as a storage, if we have one integrated platform where all kind of storage can be integrated in that will going to stabilize the grid, will also have lot of saving in the cost of the power supply. So along with these, we are also working on certain interventions which are in terms of digitization of our processes, which is also consumer centric. In fact, in Maharashtra, we have already have all the processes, like for the new connections, for any grievance related complaints. We are having our apps. We are also having our consumer grievance center, which is using the AI tools to ensure that what kind of grievances are we are getting more and how we are able to reduce these grievances. So using consumer centric uses of this digitization, we are also ensuring that power which is not only reliable, also having the consumer satisfaction. And with this, in fact, we have a lot of further opportunities as we are going more and more renewable in our energy basket in terms of wind, because now as part of this energy transition, it's not only the solar, we are also integrating a lot of wind power, because that is also complementing to our peak energy demand. So these solutions, along with the storage solution, we definitely will need grid management, which will have to be in real time, using the real time data and having the intelligent grid.
Great. Patricia, some of the things that you mentioned, I think Mr. Chandra has already given answers to how the global south can share more experiences even with the global north on the use cases which are already being implemented in the state. Mr. Sa, if I can ask you one question which is on similar lines on digital tools and AI-based analytics. How do you think they are transforming the state plans? Because Brazil is also very advanced on these things in terms of digitization and digitalization. And what role do you see for AI and digitalization in the energy transition for the state of Pernambuco?
So, once again, going back to the grid, right? We have this huge hurdle right now, which is how to maintain this highly integrated system with that amount of this big share of renewables in the grid, right? We have 90 plus renewability in the grid. And we do need smarter grid, and we need to plug in storage, and we need to introduce tariffs that are more realistic in terms of price to hour for the energy load. And that all depends not only on infrastructure, but also in new models and models that are smart in the way that we operate the grid and we translate the price for the end users. So definitely, if we want to, and we do want to keep that level of renewability in our grid, we're going to need technology as well. We're going to need innovation as well, not only infrastructure itself. And when it comes to Pernambuco, what we're doing is we're working on right now in a digital platform that will gather all the information that we have available that is critical for the power sector. So not only the infrastructure that is already there, the distribution lines, the transmission lines, but all the other utilities that are critical for the green industries. And all that will be online in a sort of Google Map user experience in which you can see the intersection of the infrastructure and even upload the details of your project and see how it stands in relation to the infrastructure that is already there. And we're doing that to reduce the asymmetry of information, mostly, because if we want to build a pipeline of green industries, we need to keep on working on infrastructure to set the conditions for this investment, this private investment in green industries to be possible at first place. But we also need to level the field so that these green industries coming along, they know the infrastructure that is there, the opportunities that are there, the hurdles that they need to overcome to make the investment possible. So we really need to level the field in terms of information. And this digital platform, which should be launched on the beginning of next year, will be a first move in that direction, right? So we're gonna have the information available, but the next step is what we're going to do with that information, how we process that in sort of fine-tuning decision making for the public policy, for the investors, and that has to do with gathering a lot of data and putting that in financial models that change to the day. And of course that artificial intelligence tools will speed up that process. But first we need to level the ground with the data, so then we can work with in speeding that up into fine-tuning of policy and private decision through artificial intelligence power tools.
Is this what? Yes. So you've highlighted a very important point on how do you consume all the outputs that are thrown out of the AI and the technologies. Patricia, if I can just turn on to you and a very smooth transition from this point on how the different data, technologies and whatever comes out, how it is digested in terms of, and the question is literally on capacities of how do you use these technologies better. I mean, we can have multiple use cases, But what comes out is more important in terms of how do you utilize this for more effective policy, regulations, implementation on ground. So as a systems thinker, can you please shed some light on what is the capacity ecosystem and how does the skills and overall ecosystem on utilization of AI need to be built up? In the interest of time, if you can please keep it brief.
Oh, super short, in one sentence. We need to remember that, again, in the emerging economies, we are talking about energy, about electricity, and then about technology. I am an expert in economy and not in energy, but I learned a lot about energy and electricity, and I had to if you want to foster economic development in our countries. I think we have, and I'm talking now from the emerging countries perspective, we need to understand that fostering energy and electricity, clean energy, as the core of economic development in our countries, I would say is the only avenue and the only chance for us to reignite growth. So we have the opportunity and the responsibility to engage not only experts in energy, not only AI experts, but the whole population in understanding that green growth is the only path for prosperity in our countries. And I think we are very far from that. If you go to the engineering schools and ask a young professional or a young student if their dream is to be fully dedicated to energy or electricity, maybe in India they will answer yes. But in all the other emerging economies, they won't. So instead of giving you a technical answer, I'm giving you more of an answer from a system thinker or a policy maker. I would love to see us making sure that our work and our agenda is also the priority in the elections. Today, it's not. Today, it's a polarized discussion, not a technical discussion. And if we accomplish that, we will not have only this technical room full, but we will have this becoming the core of the political debates and also the dream of all the population in our countries should be experts in energy, electricity, and AI. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'll just try to summarize it in 1 minute. I would first like to start from thanking all of you on the panel, Mr. Khanna and Mr. Oom just stepped out because of a meeting. But we heard a lot of good perspectives in terms of how the subnational experience, particularly in the ISA member countries, can be utilized to make it more broad and how can the learnings can transform to other countries. We saw similes to Maharashtra and Spain and how it equates in terms of the energy requirements. Mr. Chandra explained the different flagship schemes and how grids are made more intelligent using AI, digitization and the different technology interventions. So you really brought out the participation of citizens and making energy transition more democratized, really making it more people-centric and how citizens are the center of transition and not vice versa. We heard on Pranam Buku in terms of how the state has been pioneering energy transition for the last 2 years. There has been a long and very strong focus on green jobs, green industries, and how the region shows the flagship initiatives for the required transition. The role of AI in managing more than 90% of renewables in your grid, and also utilizing AI for decision making and the support tools which are there. Leadership of Global South, Patricia, you highlighted how AI and digitization is important for global experience as a whole and not only from one region to the other. There's an importance of AI-driven, AI and data-driven transition planning, more on policy and regulation side, and also the importance of capacities and capabilities for utilizing the outputs of the different technologies and the data that we are looking at today. With that, I apologize for 10 minutes overrun, but I think this was worth it because we heard a lot of insights from India, Brazil, and largely from the systems. I would like to thank the panel and Mr. Khanna and Mr. Oom for that.